My name is Hannah and I'm a clinical naturopath here at the Health Lodge in Byron Bay. Today I'm going to talk to you about healthy diet choices. This is the third video in a series I've done about optimal energy balance in the diet. So it's basically going to help you put everything that we've talked about so far together, which is ensuring that you're eating enough to meet your estimated energy requirement, ensuring that you're eating your macronutrients in the correct distribution range, and it's going to talk a little bit about just how to put it together and healthy diet choices to make when you're a little bit unsure. So before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which the Health Lodge sits, the Arakwal people of the Bundjalung Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present and future. So according to the Australian Governing Body for Nutrition, the National Health and Medical Research Council of Australia, they believe and they have a stance that in all Australians, optimal nutrition contributes significantly to healthy weight, resistance to infection, quality of life, well-being and protection against chronic disease and premature death. So nutrition has a very vital role to play in the public health. So holistic nutritional medicine dietetic principles that we follow here at the Health Lodge are more closely aligned to the Greek concept of dieta, meaning way of living. Dieta is where the word diet originates from. The present day usage of the word diet generally covers only the aspects of eating and drinking, and it's a symptom of the reductionist paradigm. Nutritional medicine, however, involves a holistic approach to a medical care that emphasizes the study of all aspects of a person's health, including their physical, psychological, social, economic, and cultural factors, alongside this modern-day perspective of diet. Nutritional medicine practitioners will apply the knowledge of the therapeutic and preventative potential of food to maintain and promote a client's health. So here are a list of dietary principles to follow that will help you achieve optimal well-being. So the first one here is being to choose natural foods. Eat organic where possible and avoid your processed foods. Eat in season. Eating in season means that you'll be eating foods that are available and grown locally. So tomatoes in summer, broccoli in winter, things that will keep us attuned to the earth and the cycle of nature. Eat fresh foods, so avoid getting things that have traveled a long distance, such as foods that have come from overseas. So eating as close as possible to the garden, the sea, or your local butcher. If you have access to a farmer's market, utilize these. Making sure that the food you eat is nutritious, that it contains lots of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and that the optimal macronutrients are consumed to support the body's energy production. Eat clean foods, so try to avoid chemicals and pesticides and preservatives. This can also mean eating a diet that's free from refined foods and processed foods that have sugar and sodium in it. Making sure that your water is clean, get a filter if needed, and ensure that your food is hygienically prepared and stored so you reduce the risk of any foodborne illnesses. Make sure that the food that you're eating is tasty and appealing, because each meal should be appealing to the eye, the mouth, and the senses. We need to nourish ourselves on every level. Food needs to be enjoyed. Ensure that you are eating a variety and that you rotate your foods, so that way we get a variety of nutrients and we can avoid any marked deficiency. And making sure that you're eating in moderation. Good nutrition begins with not overeating or undereating. Both of these can cause tremendous stress on the body. And lastly, balance, ensuring that your macronutrient intake is optimized to ensure that energy intake and expenditure is in balance to avoid any health issues, nutritional deficiencies, and any unnecessary weight gain or weight loss. So here is a basic list of foods to avoid. So these are things like refined food high in simple sugars, such as fruit juices, soft drinks, lollies, baked goods, white bread, and packaged food. Avoid trans fats that you'll find in your vegetable oils, margarines, baked goods, processed goods, cookies, and fried food. Do not exceed the 10% of the recommended saturated fats as a part of your estimated energy intake per day. So the classic saturated fats that you should be avoiding are the ones found in the fatty cuts of meats and an excessive amount of dairy. Avoid excessive red meat consumption, just 2 to 3 times per week. This will help you stick within the 10% saturated macro distribution range. Avoid gluten when possible. So gluten can be super inflammatory. Not everyone reacts to gluten, but overall, if you've got any gut health issues, taking gluten out can be the first step to healing these things. Switch out your white bread for easier to digest sourdough, for example. Avoid smoked foods as they can contain carcinogens, so it's important to limit their consumption. Here is a list which is known as the Dirty Dozen. So in terms of eating clean foods, and we talked about avoiding foods that have pesticides and herbicides and things like that used on them. This here is that list. It refers to the Dirty Dozen. So these are the most commonly sprayed foods. And then you've got the Clean 15, which are the least sprayed foods and least used inorganic fertilizers on them. So in the Dirty Dozen, you've got things like your berries, spinach, nectarines, apples, peaches, tomatoes, celery. So it's really important if you are buying these foods that you wash them properly and adequately. Using apple cider vinegar as well in diluted water can also really help to remove the residual pesticides. Then you've got your Clean 15 that are pretty good to go. Things like your avocado, pineapples, onions, kiwi fruit, making sure that you do wash the skin of kiwi fruit if you're going to eat it, which I do recommend, and things like watermelon. So now we've got a brief idea on foods to avoid. We've just touched on the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15, so you know which foods that you need to be making sure that are washed and to choose them in the organic form if possible and affordable for you. And now we can just talk on a certain diet that we recommend here at the Health Lodge for most of our patients that are curious and just want a simple, easy to follow diet, which is the Mediterranean diet. Now this diet is a traditional eating pattern of people from countries who border the Mediterranean Sea. It's based on healthy whole foods and includes very few processed foods. The key foods in the Mediterranean diet are extra virgin olive oil, vegetables and fruits, whole grain breads and cereals, legumes or beans, and fish. So the reason we love the Mediterranean diet is because it closely aligns with our dietetic principles that we have of not just focusing on the food that's consumed or the liquids that are drunk. It actually focuses on the whole process of eating and not just the certain individualized food. It's all about the social and the psychological and the lifestyle side of things. So the Mediterranean diet encourages cooking at home and to share your meals with friends and family. And they encourage eating mindfully. So this just means eating without distractions. So not in front of your TV or your desk. And the Mediterranean diet encourages you to eat slowly so that the taste and the flavor can be appreciated for what it is. So to put the Mediterranean diet in the context of what we've been discussing as in energy, balance and expenditure, the diet will approximately consist of 9,300 kilojoules per day. However, this isn't for everyone, but it is an approximate and it's an estimate that you can use when considering this diet for yourself without knowing what your estimated energy requirement is. And the macronutrient values are 40 to 45% carb, 15 to 30% protein, and 30 to 35% fat, with 20 to 25% coming from monounsaturated sources, 5 to 10 from polyunsaturated, and 5 to 10% from saturated. So just to touch on the main points of the Mediterranean diet, it's low in animal fat and saturated fat. It's high in monounsaturated fat, mostly from olive oil. It has a moderate carbohydrate intake, mostly from low GI carbohydrates, so those complex carbohydrates. It contains large amounts of vegetables and legumes, nuts and fruit, and moderate amounts of fish and alcohol consumed with meals. So the alcohol being a real moderate and mostly red wine side of things. So the benefits of the Mediterranean diet, there's many, but the research shows that it may reduce the risk of developing things like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, some cancers, fatty liver, depression or its symptoms, and cognitive decline, including dementia. So importantly, the benefits are related to following the Mediterranean dietary pattern as a whole and not just by including certain foods and nutrients. So focusing on eating with friends, cooking your own food, and eating mindfully. So I hope you've enjoyed the series that we've gone through. And if you have any questions or you're really interested in ensuring that you're eating for your optimal well-being and health, then feel free to book an appointment with me and we can go through your diet and work out something that we can tailor for you to make sure that you are your best self.